Welcome to the Sleep to Dream Analytics Explainer video, where better sleep starts with better understanding.
You've probably heard the term sleeping beauty sickness, right? Sounds almost like something from a fairy tale. Well, today we're talking about the real and very rare condition behind that name, Kleine-Levin Syndrome. And let me tell you, the reality is a whole lot darker and more complex than any storybook.
Wow, just take a second to really let that sink in. This quote from a patient gets right to the terrifying heart of it all. This isn't just about feeling tired. It's about feeling completely and utterly disconnected from your own life, from reality itself. So, where does something like this even come from? How does it all begin? Well, for most people, it just happens. It strikes an otherwise perfectly healthy teenager totally out of the blue. No warning signs, nothing. And that's what's so jarring about it. The typical patient is a completely normal teen. You know, someone with friends, who's going to school, has hobbies, your average kid. And then bam! Seemingly overnight, their entire world just gets flipped on its head. Now, while we still don't know the ultimate cause of KLS, researchers have found a pretty strong pattern. That very first episode, it's almost always kicked off by some kind of trigger. And look at this, the biggest one by far is an infection. Something as simple as the flu or even a bad cold seems to be the culprit in a whopping 72% of cases. So an episode gets triggered. But what does that actually look like? What happens? Well, yeah, there's the sleeping part, and it's extreme, but honestly, that's just the tip of the iceberg. This is about so much more than just sleep. I mean, just look at this number, 18 to 20 hours a day. That's not just a long nap, that is profound. And you can't just shake them awake easily. When you do manage to wake them, they're often super irritable, and all they want is to go right back to sleep.
So let's break down the other symptoms, because this is key. You can see right away there are a few things that are pretty much universal. That extreme sleepiness, hypersomnia, yep, 100%. That feeling of unreality or derealisation and just total apathy, almost everyone experiences those. But you know, some of the more sensationalized symptoms you might hear about, like compulsive eating or hypersexuality, they're definitely real, but they only affect about half of patients.
Okay, let's talk about derealization for a second. This might be the single most disturbing part of an episode for patients. It's this deep, persistent feeling that nothing around you is real. They use phrases like being in a bubble or feeling like they're just watching a movie of their own life. Imagine that, living inside a dream that you can't wake up from.
And that mental fog, it is thick. It gets so bad that just having a simple conversation becomes almost impossible. They might go totally mute or only be able to manage one-word answers. They get confused about the time, the day. Trying to follow a conversation or even just a TV show is completely out of the question.
This really says it all. You can see how even the attempt to write something down reveals just how jumbled everything is inside their head. It's not just messy handwriting. It's a window straight into that confusion. It's like a desperate attempt to explain something that doesn't even make sense to them anymore.
But then, just as suddenly as it all began, it stops. The episode ends. And this is where things get really, really strange. This next part is probably the most baffling feature of the entire syndrome, what life is like between the episodes.
Because here's the kicker, and this is crucial for a diagnosis. Between episodes, patients are completely normal. I mean, 100% back to their old selves. Their sleep is normal, their thinking is clear, their personality is back. It's literally like someone just flips a switch from off back to on.
So you might be wondering, how on earth do you even keep track of something this unpredictable? Well, a lot of families will actually keep a calendar diary, something just like this. They'll use a simple system, maybe a circle for a day of full-blown hypersomnia, a slash for one of those off days with just the confusion, and then a blank space for a totally normal day. It's a really powerful way to see just how stark that on-off pattern really is.
It really is like they're living in two different worlds. In one world, during an episode, they're withdrawn, confused, completely disconnected. They stop caring about hygiene, they're off their phones, off social media. But in the other world, between episodes, they're back. They're social, engaged, going to school, into their hobbies, completely themselves. The difference is just staggering.
So this crazy on-again, off-again pattern, it just begs the question, right? What in the world is going on inside the brain to cause such a massive, dramatic shift back and forth? Naturally, scientists have turned to brain imaging to try and find some clues. So what have they found? What do these scans actually show us?
The results are pretty fascinating.
The scan shows something called hypoperfusion. It's a fancy word, but it just means there's less blood flow, and so less activity in certain parts of the brain. And get this, even between episodes, when the person feels totally normal, key areas like the thalamus and hypothalamus are kind of running on low battery. Then, during an episode, it gets way worse. That low-activity zone spreads to the prefrontal cortex, which lines up with the apathy, and to another spot, the parieto-temporal junction, which seems to be the source of that awful, unreal feeling.
So we can see what's happening in the brain, but we still can't answer the big question, why? There are a few big theories floating around. Maybe it's an autoimmune thing where the body attacks itself. Maybe it's genetic. Maybe it's something to do with metabolism. But for right now, the ultimate cause is still a medical mystery.
And with the cause still being a mystery, what does that mean for the people who actually have to live with this? For patients and their families, it's a long and very uncertain road.
Just look at this number. 13.6 years. That's the median amount of time this illness lasts. Can you just imagine that? Spending your entire teens and your 20s with this constant threat hanging over your head that at any moment you could lose weeks or even months of your life.
Since there's no cure, it's all about management, and it really comes down to safety and support. During an episode, the main thing is to just let them sleep at home where it's safe. Make sure they're eating and drinking, and, this is a big one, absolutely no driving. Then, when they're back to normal, it's all about prevention, trying to stick to a super regular sleep schedule and avoiding any known triggers.
When it comes to medicine, well, the options are pretty limited. There is no cure. You can try stimulants, and they might make the person a little more alert, but they don't touch that crushing confusion and unreality. For some, lithium has been shown to reduce how often the episodes happen, but it's not a magic bullet. It doesn't work for everyone.
Which really leaves us with this one huge lingering question. How do you plan a life? How do you go to college or start a career or build relationships when you know that at any moment sleep could just steal weeks of your life? It's not just a sleep disorder. It's something that steals time, identity, and any sense of a predictable future. It really makes you think about how fragile our own sense of reality is and what it even means to be truly awake.
Thank you for watching the Sleep to Dream Analytics Explainer video. We hope you sleep well and dream easy.